Hello folks, I'm Headley, another fat bearded man talking about records. Now this might come as a surprise to you, but I do deliberate long and hard about the content of these videos. It might not seem that way, but I do like to have a theme between all the records that I show. I mean, there is something to be said for those sort of random pickups and things like that. That's always interesting, so you get a bit of everything. But also I like to have a sort of thematically group them, so there's something that sort of the sinews connect up between all the records. And I've been trying for a couple of days to do this. I've pulled out loads of records that I haven't shown that I really want to get to at some point. And I couldn't really find a connected thread. So I did finally get one. And so that thread is going to be artists who were in bands in the 60s that they were probably better known for. They didn't have solo careers that took off. And so their albums remain sort of relatively obscure. So the first one is probably from the band that is probably the most well known, and that's Denny Doherty. And this is What You're Gonna Do. This is from 1971. People probably know that Denny Doherty was from the Mamas and the Papas, and actually that album cover of him in a bath in a sort of desolate landscape, I think it's a bit of a callback to the Mamas and the Papas album. Don't look at the toilet. Oh, you can't see the toilet. It's all right. And there he is. There's Denny Doherty in the bath with the rest of the band. And so that's in good times. And then we cut to the end after the Mamas and Papas split up, and there he is in his fur coat and cowboy boots, sitting in a nasty bath in the middle of a desolate landscape. I don't know where his mind was. Anyway, this is a fun record. It's a kind of a pop country rock record. It was produced by Bill Semsek, who went on after this to great success to produce the Eagles, but let's not hold that against him. But it's mostly songs that were co-written by or written by Denny Doherty. There are a number of cover versions. There's a cover version of Hey Good Looking by Hank Williams. And I don't normally like Beatles covers, but they do an interesting thing here. There's Here Comes the Sun and The Two of Us that are kind of mashed up into one tune, which kind of goes from one verse to the verse of the other and the chorus of the other. It works really well, actually. But there's all kinds of people on here you might have heard of. You've got Buddy Emmons playing pedal steel guitar. Barry Maguire, who I believe was a good friend with the Mamas and the Papas. He's on here. You got Russ Kunkel on drums. There's somebody called Fast Eddie Fisher on electric guitar, and I, for a moment I thought that was Carrie Fisher's dad, but it's spelt differently. It's not that Eddie Fisher. Anyway, so there he is on the back. That's his then wife, I think. What was her name? Somebody Woodward. Linda Woodward, who co-writes with him and sings backing vocals on this. But yeah, this is a nice little record. It's not going to blow you away, but it's certainly not going to outstay its welcome. It is a bit more pop inflected. That's not a word? Infused take on country rock, but it's none the worse for that. So I'll give you a tune on here. How about I Still Can't Hear the Music, maybe?
Gliding past the sunlight, crashing into city days, I hardly could remember country dreams and country ways, till I saw my house was empty and I wanted to go home. And I missed you all, and have you noticed how we all have grown? Our hair is getting longer and our way of life is stronger, and I know as I look back to where I've been, it's time to get together once again.
Right, so next up we've got Ron Elliott with The Candlestick Maker. This is from 1970. It's on Warner Brothers. Ron Elliott was the guitarist and principal songwriter for the Beau Brummels, who released a number of great records in the 60s, not least their Bradley's Barn album, which is a classic country rock record of that era. This isn't as country-ish, but it still retains that kind of rootsiness. I mean, the cover kind of gives it away for that, doesn't it, really? And the beard and hair. But yeah, so this is, you know, somewhere in that kind of rootsiness of the band, although not as bluesy. But it's a game of two halves. The first half is what you would expect, but the second half is a kind of concept album, well, concept half album. It didn't have a big enough concept for a whole album, just a half album. But that's the Candlestick Maker Suite, which is broken down into two parts. Not pretentious at all, maybe a little bit, but it still sounds great. There's all kinds of people playing on this. You've got Chris Etheridge on bass guitar. Sal Valentino from the Beau Brummels turns up banging out a tambourine. You've got Ry Cooder on guitar on a track. The jazz flautist Bud Shank plays flute on one track. And there's a song called To the City to the Sea, which has a brass arrangement by Leon Russell. So yeah, some big names involved. This was the only album that he made. He'd go on to sort of production work. In fact, he'd already arranged the Everly Brothers' Roots album. In fact, there's two songs on that which are his songs. And yeah, he worked with Van Dyke Parks. I think later on he worked with all kinds of people. Randy Newman, I think, and he's even got Dolly Parton on his roster of people he worked with. Anyway, so yeah, it's a cracking record in that sort of rootsy, slightly country, folky way. Really worth listening to.
Hard and fast, it's gonna leave you hanging blue. Ooh. 'Cause when you're down, they're gonna throw it back on you. Ooh. Running for the lights, running for the scene, living on the all-time green, living on the all-time green.
Okay, so that was Ron Elliott from The Candlestick Maker, 1970. Okay, now if I was to mention the Youngbloods, some of you might think Jesse Colin Young, but I'm not going to talk about him. I'm going to talk about his bandmate, Jerry Corbitt. Now, Jerry Corbitt started out as a bluegrass musician, like a lot of the country rock groups members did in that from that era. He started a folk duo with Jesse Colin Young that eventually turned into the Youngbloods, and he left the Youngbloods in 1969 and recorded his first album, which is great. It's a kind of a country rock with some progressive, sort of slightly psychedelic moments. But this second album from 1971 is a bit more, I'm going to say rootsy again. I mean, we're out of the 60s, so it's jettisoning some of those sort of psychedelic elements, of course, and rooting to a more sort of robust kind of soul country sound. In fact, this does have the Fame horns on it and backing vocals from the Holiday Sisters. Was it the Halliday Sisters? I think it says Holiday Sisters on here, but I think they're the Halliday Sisters. of course, was sort of part of the Muscle Shoals thing. So that gives you an idea that how some of this might sound. It does have that Muscle Shoals kind of funky country soul sound to it. But there's other kind of more country tracks on here. There's a track called John Deere Tractor, which was written by Lawrence Hammond, who I will mention at some point in the future. And that was a track that would be later picked up and done by the Judds in the 80s. But yeah, so it's got interesting people on it. It was produced by Charlie Daniels, and in fact Jerry Corbitt did kind of get into a duo with I just said his name, Charlie Daniels, and there are a couple of live albums that were released which have some of the tracks from this on them. But yeah, I really love this. I ended up getting a copy of this from Canada because I wanted it so much. It has not been easy to find a copy in the UK. Sorry, there he is. That's groovy looking dude. So yeah, he didn't really do much after this. I think there was an album in the 80s. Went off into production work, as a lot of the people did from this era. But yeah, really happy to have that. Jerry Corbitt. There's a great track called Pain.
Well, I got up yesterday morning on the wrong side of the bed. My mouth was full of cotton. I had a storm inside my head. I stumbled out to the kitchen. I found a note pinned on the door. It said, "Your sweet Loretta won't be coming round no more." Oh, pain, what you trying to do? Do you think my life belongs to you? Pain, what you trying to do? Well, you ain't getting through.
Okay, next up we've got Ray Stinnett. This is what's it called? A Fire Somewhere, and he was in the group Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs, who had a big hit in 1965 with Wooly Bully, but they were out of Memphis, and after that he left the band and went over to San Francisco. You know, obviously. Wearing flowers in his hair and all that kind of stuff. Didn't really do anything there, but played a lot of bands and clubs and stuff, and then moved back to Memphis, where he kind of hooked up with Booker T. Jones and his wife Priscilla Coolidge. I think they were married at the time, and Rita Coolidge, and yeah, they sort of hung out. And when Booker T. Jones got a contract, I think it was with A&M, I might be wrong, they basically gave him carte blanche to put together a number of different albums. And one of them he thought would be great would be Ray Stinnett. So he contacted him, and this was recorded in 1971. Now, it went unreleased. And it wasn't released until 2012 by Light in the Attic. And this is a rather heavy double album that they released, and it's a lovely record. It's a kind of a blend of folk rock but with soul. Booker T. Jones doesn't actually produce it; he executively produces it, whatever that is. I don't think he plays on it either, actually. But yeah, it's a cracking record. It's a shame that it wasn't released at the time. It really is. But apparently this is the album cover that had been signed off on in 1971. But yeah, it's kind of laid back folk soul, I suppose you'd call it. Acoustic soul, maybe. Yeah, it's really good stuff. So that's Ray Stinnett.
Waiting for the sunrise.
for what life holds in store for me. The electric cue in my brain tells me life holds more than just games. So long rivers flow and the sun shines on the sea.
Right, so I think I've saved the best for last, and that is Chris Darrow's self-titled second album from 1973. Chris Darrow is one of those sort of unheralded backbone of the country rock scene, really. He was in the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, but that was kind of back when they were more of a psychedelic jug band. I think he was there as they were sort of starting to turn into a country rock group. But he left. He formed the Corvettes with Bernie Ledden, who'd come from the Flying Burrito Brothers and would obviously go off to be in the Eagles. They recorded one single, is it two singles, I think, much sought after. And they were Linda Ronstadt's backing band briefly as well. But he's probably better known for being in Kaleidoscope with David Lindley. And this is kind of going in the same sort of direction as Kaleidoscope, because it's got that blending of different kind of folky styles. So you have elements of country in here, you have elements of Cajun, you have elements of British folk. In fact, it was recorded in England and has a number of British artists involved. It's got members of Fairport Convention who are playing on this. It's also got what's her face, Dolly Collins, Shirley Collins' sister, and in fact she arranges a track on here using members of the David Munro's early music consort of London. So you get Crumhorn and things like that on a track. Now, for an album it's also got Alan Stivell, who he recorded over in France, who plays the harp on a very folky tune. But there's something about the way that Chris Darrow is able to sort of link all these very different styles together into one album and actually make it work. So yeah, like you have the folky stuff, but you have some country stuff, you get some bluegrassy elements in here as well. He even does a tune. I'm gonna have to break from the my usual thing and actually play snippets of two tracks just to give you a bit of the sense of the type of stuff he was doing on this record. I'll be damned for it, but hey, never mind. So I mean, it's got a bit of a write-up on the back of there. You can pause it and see what it says about him. Yeah, it's a fabulous record. In fact, he released 3 fabulous records in a row that stand up with anything that was produced at the time. Really, they are that good. I need to do a kind of a video about Chris Darrow on his own, actually. But yeah, there's a track on here called Whipping Boy, which some of you might know from Ben Harper's first album. I think it was a single for him as well. And in fact, Chris Darrow taught Ben Harper. He was his sort of guitar guru that taught him how to play the Wissenborn sort of lap guitar from Hawaii. So he's a very sort of musicologist, I suppose you would have called him. But yeah, Chris Darrow, he died a couple of years ago, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm going to leave you with a couple of tracks from this because one of them blends Cajun and reggae, and he makes it work. I mean, you might disagree, but I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I'll play you a bit of Whipping Boy as well. So that's Chris Darrow, all people who are in 60s bands. So I hope you enjoyed some of that, and I'll see you again soon. So bye-bye for now.